Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Superliminal. When we last left off, we found all of the collectibles. That is the fire alarms, fire extinguishers, constellations, blueprints, and chess pieces. Today we are going to be doing some speedrunning, so without further ado, let's jump back in. Okay, I kind of want to run through... Finish the game with developer commentary. I kind of want to do that. So let's do extra modes. There's also like... Finish all challenges in challenge mode. Beat the game in under 30. This one.
Hello, and welcome to the Superliminal Developer Commentary. I'm Albert, Game Director of Superliminal. Myself and the rest of the team will be popping up every now and then as you play. With subtitles open,
like
you can see who is talking and what their role on the game is.
Patent-pending somnoscope technology provides safe and effective
So now we'll just run through the game again.
in the comfort of our flagship.
I don't know that I can do it in an hour. Supposedly you can do it in an hour. Supposedly you can do it 30 minutes, but...
At the University Medical Center.
I don't even remember this intro. It's been so long.
We'll make your dreams come true.
Yeah, make my dreams come true. Remember that chess piece being there.
Hi, my name's Chris.
Hey,
I was the
Chris.
producer and designer on Superliminal.
Hi, this is Will O'Neill, and I was the writer on Superliminal.
Oh, good job. You did a great job.
Okay, so that very beginning of Superliminal is actually one of the last parts we finished. Throughout development, we created so many different introductions to the game. Not all of them were cutscenes, like that one, but we ended up feeling that that in-game video sequence offered...
A lot of people ask about
Hey, this is Matt. I did the music and sound.
On falling asleep. Welcome to Somnus.
This very first jazz piece in the game is called I Wonder, and if it sounds at all familiar to you, that's because you just heard its melody and chord progression in the Somnoscope TV jingle back at the start of the game, which I called Smooth Wonder.
I did like the music in this game.
Hi, I'm Logan, and I'm level designer on Superliminal.
The blow game.
The difference with the main resizing mechanic in this game is how much freedom it gives the player.
Yeah.
This puzzle is a good example. In most puzzle games, if you put an object on a button in this scenario, the object doesn't need to be moved anymore. The key to unlock the door removes the key from the problem space. But unfortunately, in our game, you can just turn around and grab the object from any distance away. Therefore, we've gotten good at adding barriers in many places so people won't carry an object through all puzzles forever.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I perform
Alex.
gameplay programming on Superliminal.
Oof, that's rough, dude.
When I joined the project, there weren't really any menus except the absolute bare minimum to get the player into the game, and there wasn't any keyboard support either.
Oof. That's rough because that's how I play.
So the first order of business was to add proper mouse and keyboard support to the title and pause menus. The hardest part was supporting switching between the two on the fly, because you never know when the player is going to do it, and it could lock them out of the game. With that foundation laid, I started working on controller support. In terms of the menus, there wasn't much work to do. The pad basically acts like a keyboard. But gameplay was quite a different story. As we approached launch, we all agreed that controller support wasn't quite up to par, and so we shipped without it, adding it around a month after launch.
Fair enough.
To make controllers feel as good as mouse and keyboard, I wrote a bunch of code to modify how controller input is interpreted. For mouse and keyboard, input is more or less one-to-one mapped to player movement. So you move the mouse and the camera turns.
Right.
But that doesn't feel good with controllers. Trying to pick up a very small object, say a chess piece, could be quite finicky.
Makes sense.
In the end, I made it so looking around accelerates the longer the stick is pressed, and behaves differently based on whether you are looking vertically or horizontally, and also while you are holding an object. Probably the biggest change was a quote-unquote auto-lock feature, which draws the focus to a grabbable object as your cursor gets closer to it.
Oh.
All these changes culminated in controllers feeling much more accurate and satisfying.
That's actually a really smart way of doing that.
Please return to the orientation pathway.
when we were playtesting, we realized that players were getting tripped up on different aspects of the resize mechanic. So we tried to make each puzzle in this level teach a specific action.
Yeah.
The cheese
It was
puzzle
smart.
is our way of forcing
But you
players to make
forget,
something
there's so many of them,
from
you
very
forget
small
it.
to very big.
It's a
And the
problem.
puzzle after that is the opposite.
Freaking Stop.
This broken window puzzle is to teach you how to make things small and fit through a hole, but at a distance, so you can't simply walk up to it.
I don't know if we will with all the commentary. I think I skipped a bunch at the beginning,
All
which
environments perceived during eyelids should reflect a typical mental state. If you believe your mental state was compromised by Somnasculpt, please provide a comprehensive, rational explanation in your post-procedural survey. Completed surveys may be eligible for a gift card.
guys, we've been over this. This is annoying. I think it's because I have it not far enough away from me. Yeah, I do appreciate the, like, teaching each of the mechanics of, like, the thing, because...
We had this looping hallway for a while, but it was very nondescript and players got confused on where they were and they would get turned around. So our artist Steve helped mock up some windows and landmarks so people can tell where they are. Immediately, we found that playtesters weren't getting lost anymore and understood the moment.
I mean, it's irrelevant, right? Because you don't even use it.
Our core game mechanic is so novel that we immediately drew comparisons to other quasi-sci-fi puzzle games. And since our game is about playing with and subverting expectations, we wanted to lean into that and start the first level with a kind of test chamber aesthetic and immediately break that going forward.
Yeah.
Narratively, this space is what Dr. Pierce planned to have
interesting.
his dream therapy program look like before it all went wrong.
Please stand by for polite recognition on your completion of the Somnasculpt
it's not
orientation. You did it.
Good to know.
To maximize the time allotted for your therapeutic journey, please do not delay in proceeding through the final doorway as indicated.
Come on, knock it over. So annoying. I always find these to knock over easier. Any commentary back here? Just checking. I wonder if there will be more or less as we go. I know I missed a bunch in the beginning, but I think they were just like introductions. I should have like reset the recording so I knew what our time was on this. Here we go.
The reason we ended up with this sleep clinic section is because we wanted to convince players that they might have actually woken up from the dream. So we don't have any dreamlike mechanics you can play with until you get to the vending machine. Later on, this becomes a hub you come back to in order to emphasize the feeling of waking up from a dream within a dream.
Oh yeah, I guess, yeah. Makes
You
sense.
want the first moment of people walking into this hallway to feel different from other first-person puzzle games. This hallway is designed to feel surprisingly warm, which helps make it feel a little bit surreal, and a little bit odd. Throughout the game, we're bouncing between these two feelings, the feelings of warmth and coldness.
So my brief for the jazz part of this soundtrack was always to do my best to emulate the iconic solo jazz piano sound of the great Bill Evans. For that, I listened to an album called Alone. My process was to try to compose my own superliminal jazz standards. I fleshed out the first chorus and melody. Later on, I workshopped and recorded with my good friend John Reeves. And I'm so glad I did, because his piano skills are so much better than mine.
I like the cool piano in this. Oh, don't lose that. That would be bad. Whoa! It's unexpected. There we go. Is everyone up there? Okay. Just checking. I think all the commentary is probably going to be in our way. I can imagine if they would hide any
My
of it.
name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'd like to talk to you about being special. So special, in fact, that we have no idea where you are. But not to worry, we're working on it.
I feel like there should be commentary here. Not big enough. I speed run. Oh no. Here. Here. What? Oh, here you go.
Hi, my name is Ryan, and I was the
Hi,
principal
Ryan.
artist on Superliminal. Optical's pink hotel hallway was the first area we nailed down visually and served as a starting point for how we approached the art for the rest of the game. We wanted enough decoration for it to be interesting to the player, yet it couldn't have too much visual noise, or else the player would get lost and overwhelmed. We made interactable objects the complementary color of the surrounding environment, which helped them pop more and feel more important. After we were happy with how this part of the game felt, the rest of the locales came together much quicker, and we required less iteration.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'm just popping in to give you a quick update on where you are. We still don't know, but please keep moving forward, and hopefully you prefer frequent updates to being reminded that you are completely lost.
Right, we go this way. I think we do need this piece. I like that it also does that where it zooms in a little bit. To be like, oh. I just want to make sure there's no commentary in here. I think this is just extra, right? Yeah. This special glowy cube. But yeah, all the commentary seems to be like directly in front of our faces. That's good.
Hi, my name is Phil Fortier, and I was the graphics programmer on Superliminal, and I also worked on some of the Easter egg design.
Before you grab the moon in the next room, please notice that it looks quite far away. An interesting fact is that it actually isn't that far at all. But because the moon's position is moving with your position, it seems to be infinitely far away.
Also find a variety of emergency exit signs that should
Cut off
lead
the
you to them.
graphics programmer
Will
guy
all
here,
of this
feel
work?
bad.
Absolutely.
This puzzle has the problem of requiring the room to not have a ceiling, which resulted with players wanting to escape the room. In a later update, we added
Classic.
a secret area above this room and a bunch of other secret areas based on where we saw players going.
Oh, I made myself tiny. I don't need to do that.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce. In the event that this elevator does not wake you up, please don't interact with anything that strikes you as psychologically significant, as we will
Not be controlling it. Let's go. Okay. I accidentally cut off that one commentary. But that's okay. That's a good reason to make you guys get the game yourselves. Can you use the chess as like a major skip?
This is an automated message
I
for
wanna
all
listen to the
patients who
commentary,
attempted
but,
to use
like,
an alternate pathway to
is that
access
how you
the
can
next
complete
phase
the
of
game in 30
somnasculpt
minutes?
therapy, but who have become trapped in a dream
We'll have to
state
try
paradox
that.
instead.
Because, like, you could
Your
finish it in,
decisions
like,
imply a failure of
no
orientation,
time
which
at
reflects
all.
negatively on the standard orientation protocol. You will rectify this failure immediately.
So the standard orientation protocol character is obsessed with proper orientation, and that makes her kind of thematically antagonistic to the idea of truth being, intrinsically tied to perspective. But to me, the fun part of it was writing her as being cruel without there being any actual malice to it. Like, she has nothing against you personally. Her programming simply can't see beyond proper orientation as being the only thing of any value to a Somnosculpt patient whatsoever.
Right.
An early challenge we had for creating the art for cubism was how to approach the space and make sense of it. We started taking it a bit too literally. For example, how can we make sense of the door being so high up? Why would it be built this way? The solution we arrived at was simply not to make sense of it, because it shouldn't.
Right.
We created a simple museum aesthetic that wouldn't get in the player's way of experimenting with and enjoying the puzzles. Sometimes keeping it simple is the way to go.
Sure. And I think that worked really well for this game. It's just like, oh, you're in a place that isn't meant to
Between
be.
the colorful dream spaces, we have these, what we call back areas.
Yes.
These
I
back
like
areas
them.
serve as the backdrop to everything. They are where the dream spaces are built, and also the service hallways in between them. We wanted to give them a colder, darker feel to contrast with other spaces in the game.
I
But
really
we also
like
wanted to keep a
the
man-made
music.
feel, as if people were just here moving things, creating these spaces, doing work a second before you arrived.
Yeah, it reminded me a little of Charlie Kaufman's Synecdoche, New York. That idea of building a world inside of another world.
Yeah.
Hi
It works
there.
really well.
I'm Steve. I'm the art director of Superliminal. Originally, we had little plaques indicating exhibits within the museum,
Oh.
but we felt it was a little bit too on the nose, so to speak. You are the main exhibit, so I imagine the players wandering around a game with an exhibit plaque hanging around their necks.
Yeah, I didn't really get museum until they said it, and I was like, yes, that's
Please
exactly
note that a
right.
reluctance to volunteer for the risks
Like
associated
this
with explosive
areas,
mental
these
overload
areas.
Not
implies
all of our interesting perspective moments can be built into puzzles. Some are just great moments that break your expectations. This level interprets a cube in multiple different ways, and even though none of these are difficult puzzles, they all work together to create a whole series of back-to-back surprise moments.
Yeah,
It was fun finding the
it's really
balance of
good.
making it feel like someone was messing with you, without making it feel like the cube is sentient.
Yeah, it's true. It just feels like, oh, something's broken here. It led to that, like, oh, this is a dream state. This is not a real place. Works really well. Like that. Oh yeah, I didn't bring it with me. Sorry, you don't need to. We're finishing the game. Yeah, so the first time you get to the reception and you can press the computer, I guess you could just skip to like the last level. And then you just finish the game from there. And I wonder if that counts as like under 30-minute speedrun. Love the loading screens of this game. Definitely have to try it. I'm gonna try this because we're reading commentary, but or listening to commentary, I should say. Glad I don't have to read it. Look, hallway.
Hello, my name
Hello.
is Dr. Glenn Pierce.
I love the hello.
And despite touring
Hello.
the Waterfall Serenity Zone in the previous
This level
section,
came about because we explored the idea of the game being an anthology of different stories, one story for each level. This level was the horror level, and I immediately knew what it would be about, getting the player to be scared of their own shadow. None of the scares are actually real, but the player doesn't know that right away. We scrapped the anthology idea, but this level worked so well that we kept it. One aspect we wanted to explore and draw from was movie scene cuts, basically how a match cut in a movie might make sense in a game. This next moment is a good example. Carefully watch the cloud in the distance. You'll see that it cuts to a new scene.
Yeah. It was really cool. I didn't even notice it the first time.
Boo!
That's so fun. Boo. No, the one where like later whenever I was like moving the beans around to get that achievement and like there was a sound, I was like, that's a weird sound, and then I look back and the chess piece moves out of frame. That was probably the scariest thing. Fire. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, my name
Oh.
is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'd like to talk more about the feelings of worthlessness and self-doubt I mentioned before. You feel this way because you want the kind of happy life you see all around you.
Happy wife, happy
Kind
life.
you know everyone else is enjoying. And that's exactly why we're here to help.
Nothing in there, Bear.
Warning.
The object used in this puzzle was originally a flashlight, but unfortunately, because of how the mechanic works, it always placed the flashlight at the end of the room, which is not a particularly useful position for a flashlight. We tried a couple of things, but finally decided to switch to an object that could glow from both ends.
It's true. I didn't think about that. Because, like, it would only point that one way. Just make my light a little bit bigger. I'm glad they're like, this is the horror level. Proceed.
Did you know that unintentional multi-dream layering occurs in less than 1% of patients? This correlates strongly with the 99% of patients who are able to follow simple instructions.
When I prototyped this part, there was going to be a shadow of a monster on the wall that turned out to be a bunch of random objects when the lights turned on. The shadow always looked silly though, so eventually the reveal became the blood actually being red paint.
Oh, yeah.
This room was one of the biggest technical challenges we had in the game.
Originally, this was one huge room, but turning our dynamic lights all on abruptly killed the frame rate, so we ended up chopping the room into smaller areas so we could hide and unhide objects from the player's view once the lights turned back on. This would lessen the amount of objects getting hit by lights at the given time, thus saving on performance.
Yeah, I remember Phil even tried teleporting the player to a completely new room, but that change-up was a bit too visually obvious, and we eventually realized that chopping up the room was the answer.
Isn't it crazy to think about, like, the stuff that you, like... Huh? Oh, there are two directions to go. I like hearing the commentary, too, because, like, I have a, you know, degree.
When I prototyped this part, there was going to be a shadow of a monster on the wall that turned out to be a bunch of random objects when the lights turned on. The shadow always looked silly though, so eventually the reveal became the blood actually being red paint.
Yeah, the first time I saw that chest piece stick out and then, like, move back, I was like, I didn't even notice this wall isn't painted. It's, like, in the process of being painted. I'm so distracted by beans. So funny. Sit back down. Hey, Abel,
We wanted to do a unique alarm clock for each level, but this is the only one that survived that idea.
Yeah, the stacked ones. Thematic. Purple. Oh, I'm supposed to bring the door with me. Dingus. Always forget.
Part of breaking expectations is changing your definition of an object. A door, which usually keeps people out, becomes a flight of stairs if it is cloned enough times.
Really quite genius.
Attention! Dr. Pierce requires you to note the following risks of dream overexposure.
Yeah, so this right-click to return sign that I bet you didn't even notice is one of the most unread signs in the game. It comes up
What?
later, and it's also one of the most unread signs in the game there too.
Side effects which have not yet been discovered
Are you
or
kidding?
which
I've
cannot be
read the site.
understood.
I guess it's because people just like get through the thing. That's so funny. I used to like, I guess people just click it by accident, I guess? Huh. I am baffled by that. Maybe it's because I'm always the person that reads everything. Huh, that's baffling to me. Smiley face.
Let's talk about the smiley face.
Yes!
Because our goal was to break people's expectations, we prototyped a lot of weird moments like these. Some of them didn't work because they felt too meta. They would actually take people out of the game experience. This one, however, stayed because it was just subtle enough and playful enough that you could see it as a bout of insanity.
I like it.
Aside from the core resizing mechanic, I think cloning the objects is one of the more immediately enjoyable mechanics that we put into the game.
Yeah.
When we ran playtests, this one would always have people smiling.
It is fun. I also like the apple changing color to different apple colors. Hardest puzzle in the game right here.
Warning. Dr. Pierce
this
is
game's so much
frantically
faster
submitting
whenever you know
numerous
how to
spelling
do.
and grammar mistakes into the standard orientation protocol in a desperate attempt to counsel you. I have no
And you're
subroutine
not
to
looking
correct
for
these errors,
collectibles.
but I cannot compromise the integrity of the standard orientation protocol. You will not receive these messages.
You
They
guys
would
do
not
something
make
about the
sense
banana.
regardless.
So I need to know why there's a banana. You guys don't have an explanation for the banana, really? I'm taking it with me. I wonder if anybody even notices the banana, and I'm just crazy enough to see things like that. Although I never saw that fire extinguisher.
Attention. Dr. Pierce continues to
hole in
input
the
significant errors. I will interpret his basic ideas. Hello, my introductions are redundant. I am a
Players
real
may notice the motif of the repeating purple hallway found throughout Clone. We wanted the player to have this feeling of, have I been here before? This seems pretty familiar. But we didn't want it to be too easy, or to be 100% unclear. So we introduced differences such as lighting, prop placement, and hallway length. That way, for most players, it was something chewing away at the back of their minds, as opposed to being blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
Lots of credit here to Max Hoarth, who plays the role of Dr. Glenn Pierce, for really nailing this bizarre line in an impressively short number of takes. We were totally prepared to have him record the words in like their logical order and rearrange them after the fact, but his performance of doing it correctly, incorrectly, was phenomenal.
Obviously great.
Tomorrow can bright. And buts, no ifs, or look good.
I bet he was like, what the fuck is this whenever he got the script? I like the voice. It's a good voice. I don't know who the voice actor is, but it has that Stanley Parable voice. I did. What?
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and in addition to the occasional puzzle generated by your mind, you may also repeatedly see images of things that you obsessively dislike, such as avocados.
I love avocados.
We believe this happens because you're obsessed with them.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'd like to discuss the assumption that secret or out-of-the-way locations ought to contain valuable knowledge instead of pipes filled with squandered human potential. They usually don't. If you think about it, they probably shouldn't. It's bad design.
This room kind of happened by accident. We originally just put a cloud video texture as placeholder as a way to expand on the cloud motif. It ended up working so well and fitting the tone so well that we made this a private theater room in the sleep clinic. It evokes a nostalgic and relaxing but slightly creepy feeling which seemed to fit the game perfectly.
Yeah, it was like, what is
Please continue
happening
to
here?
do whatever you did most recently, and discontinue whatever you were doing immediately prior to that.
I always do this. I need to walk up to objects before I grab them. Make my life a lot easier.
The sound effects that probably took the most tweaking were definitely all associated with the resizable objects. For them, I had to make a collision matrix so that the sound of you dropping a box or a cube would smoothly change from its smallest to its largest size and
Done
anywhere
really
in
well.
between. So to achieve that, there were lots of different layers of the sounds, lots of automated pitch shifting, speeding up, slowing down, lots of crossfading between different layers of the sound, and a lot of trial and error to get it feeling right inside the game.
That's all the stuff that you never notice in games. That's why I like
Hello,
developer
my name
commentary.
is Dr. Glenn Pierce. In addition to continuing
So I can
and
appreciate like the
discontinuing as
programming that goes
mentioned
into
earlier,
games like this.
please also
but
disregard any
it's-
unsettling experiences.
Seems so
that you may
simple
have
whenever you don't
recently
know
had.
how any of it works.
Everything should have now reverted to being soothing and therapeutic. If this is not the case, you may be receiving this message in error.
Like that it instantly scales up whenever you move away from it. It's flawless. I mean, I of course didn't play this game when it first came out. I'm sure it was a lot more buggy then, but it's done pretty well now. Which window is it? This one? This one. See any commentary? Here we go again. Hate this. Annoying.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and I'd like to read you my favorite
This puzzle existed for a long time, but it took a while to figure out what the art was going to be because the bouncy castle used to just be a weird L-shaped block. Eventually, we landed on the pool motif and the bouncy castle and added a little bit where you go inside the vent.
human nature or the eventual loss of everything you've
You could have
ever
left out
held
that
dear.
part, honestly.
Whatever you do, don't focus on that.
What was I? What do I have to do again here? We're trying to get in here, right? That's right. Just need to get in. Yeah, I totally ruined this the first try because I did not understand. I was like, I need to be smaller. I'll be smaller than the atoms of anything ever. And it's like, no, that's not what you need to do, actually. It's so hard to place this, though. It's so frustratingly hard. Like, I can place it there just fine. As soon as I try to place it here, it falls, and it's very annoying. This is the most difficult puzzle that I struggle with in this game, and I don't know why I struggle with it. Like, that's fine, right? That fits. I think that's why I need to, like, pull it back and then do that. Struggle with it so much. That's probably the best I've ever done on that.
Because we have portals that you can resize, the player can freely change their own size. This actually created a design problem because you could never predict what size the player was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if we dynamically changed the size of the geometry later on in the level, things could break really easily. So instead, we added these portals, like this doorway over here, which changes size in order to resize you back to the normal scale of a human.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Or if you like me, you just
Changing the
break
player
it.
size through portals has a couple of weird side effects when it comes to programming. You have the obvious ones, such as needing to change the player collider, movement speed, jump height, and mantling distance. You have a couple of less obscure ones, such as needing to change the camera's far and near clip planes, so geometry is less likely to clip through your camera as you get smaller. Another interesting one we'll talk about later.
Talk about it now. I got time. This is gonna take me forever. I did it so easy first try, but I don't know. I struggle with this now. I don't know why I struggle so much with this one. Just do, I guess. I think I just like underestimate how good I can like jump. Maybe, or I overestimate. Too high. Then it's like too far, you know. Okay. See, now that's way too big. I think I need to be a little bit bigger. But I think this is too big to get through the door. Well, maybe not. Just go ahead.
Another weird thing about player resizing is that gravity is actually constant across all sizes. So imagine you're in the perspective of an ant, and a giant shoe is coming down from the sky to step on you.
I did it.
That shoe in your mind might take a couple seconds, but in real life, it would be instant. Whatever size you are, large objects traveling through space should feel like they are moving slowly.
Right.
So when we change the player size, we're actually also adjusting gravity in order to compensate for this as well.
Lots of
This
math.
is physically incorrect, but this feels better for the player.
It does, and it makes sense whenever things are bigger that they fall slower. Because if they fell at the same speed, they wouldn't feel as, like, weighty. And they do that really well.
So that's my cat. His name is Finn, and he's a good boy. And we only had a day or two left before finishing the game, and we needed to figure out what kind of posters to put in our elevators. So I decided to have a little bit of fun with it, and this is by far my favorite, of course. The Cardboard Lovers Association also makes a nice little nod to the Cardboard Dollhouse.
Oh, yeah. What about the dates? Yeah, it's got, like, my birthday on here. Also, I'm glad that that pauses that, because I didn't even think about it. We're on level 6? Should be Labyrinth?
The emergency exit protocol is the shortest lived character in the game, but my heart really goes out to him. Because just like a triangle player in an orchestra, he has precisely one job and he waits patiently for his moment to do it, only of course to have it snatched away just as that moment arrives. I think many people can identify with this feeling.
Error analysis complete. You are exhibiting signs consistent with an increase in
I'm just seeing
fear,
if there's any
hopelessness,
more.
and frustration. This is inconceivable, as somnasculpt
I think we
therapy
do
is
have to
proven
walk
to
to the end of
correlate
this
with a
anyway,
decrease
so.
in these emotions. Hypothesis. Patient was improperly oriented. Conclusion. Impossible.
Impossible.
Reformulating. Improved hypothesis.
Don't know that we're gonna get to
Patient
it under an
requires
hour,
additional somnasculpt therapy. Conclusion. Emergency exit protocol
There are
cannot
holds
proceed.
in the game like this where we
Emergency
just
exit
can't do
protocol
anything.
has been emergency destroyed. Instruction. Continue with somnasculpt therapy indefinitely on an independent basis, as all orientation resources have been exhausted. This concludes your standard orientation protocol. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, gotta press that. And now. Okie dokie. Look like there's any commentary in here. Is there any commentary down here? I didn't think there would be, but you never know. Should be able to fit through that. Don't hide commentary. Which I'm glad they don't. I kind of wish I would just have a continuous stream of talking, though.
Hello,
personally.
my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce. Thank you for completing the Somnosculpt Standard Orientation
We've done this
Protocol.
level so many times in our life.
Before you begin the first phase of therapy, I'd like to briefly describe the finite and fragile nature of the dream state.
Let's see if there's anything back by this TV. There's not. Okay. No. Well, you know. So the falling sound.
We had all these surprise moments prototyped, and so I wondered what it would feel like if we had a whole level of surprise moments. I wanted it to be fast-paced. The working title for this level was Chase. This is the boss level of the game, basically.
Yes.
It's inspired by the third act of the movie Brazil, how it gets crazier and faster paced over time.
It definitely felt that way. Like, you were like, I'm losing control. I'm losing control of everything. Everything's crazy.
Of course,
definitely
nothing
got that
is
right.
more challenging than the difficulty of changing
It also felt the
perspective,
most antagonist
of fundamentally altering your perceptions
of the,
in a way that will enable you to face dire,
all the
trial-by-fire scenarios with solutions that could not be found otherwise.
It felt like this was the point where she was actually mad at you and you were in trouble and you were doing things incorrectly at that point. And like, the music really kicks in too. Just trying to see if there's commentary in here. Oh, it's in the elevator.
The music throughout the game really goes through a significant transformation, but the piano is always there to guide you. Even as the music becomes darker and more electronic, it always has the melody, or at least a really significant role to play. It changes as you progress through the game. I switched to different types of piano, starting out with a piano Bill Evans famously recorded on. Later, switching to a more modern sounding instrument. I double it
I want to
with
know the
prepared
programming
piano
of this
sounds
section.
sometimes. I use felt piano, and gradually more reverbs and delays as the game evolves. But at the heart of each piece is the piano.
Because like programming this would have to be so annoying. Because you have to have detections on like where the player's looking. I wanted to hear about it. Ah! Clicked outside of the game. Again, shocking. I like the smiley face too. It's like, TV did that. Speaker, I was like, what is that?
Finally, while we respect the unique progress of every patient, you must understand that it is possible to completely exhaust your supply of dreams.
The original idea for Labyrinth was to explore earlier areas, but with a new spin on them. Sometimes it was a matter of adding new interactive moments to turn things on their head, while for others, we would take existing locales and give them a new look of paint and set dressing. Something familiar, yet fresh and unexpected.
That instability is perfect for the mood and for general world building too. Conceptually, different patients would be bringing different experiences with them into the dream state, and we wanted to reflect that.
So fun. Done really well.
So when I joined the project, this infinite elevator sequence wasn't actually infinite. It was just a very large block of, I don't know, 20 by 10 elevators. And the performance, as a result, wasn't very good. And the illusion could be ruined if you walked all the way to one side. So one of the things I did was actually make it infinite. So there's a much smaller block of real elevators.
It just
and
brings
the player
you back
gets teleported seamlessly by portals on each end. And so the end result is an infinite elevator sequence that you can just go in one direction forever.
Done really well. I appreciate infinite, like, procedurally generated stuff because it's fun to do, in my
Of an
opinion.
alarm clock, which will automatically play if you are approaching a destabilizing dream weight.
This area is really fun too, where you just like walk until the faraway scene flattens out to like a wall, and it's like, wait, you're in a room the whole time. It's a little slow, but that's okay. There we go. Loading, loading.
So coming up with the way to actually make the portal in a portal make sense for the player was a really tough problem. And we iterated on this for weeks with input from all different team members. So it was really a group effort. But it was important to get it right because this is one of the pivotal moments in the game. And then another thing we had to do was figure out how to make the world degrade in a way that fit with the game's look and feel.
Yeah.
And one day while prototyping, I just happened to accidentally assign a light map texture to one of the walls in the room, and I really liked the way it looked.
That's
light
fun.
map textures are textures generated by the engine offline to help with realistic lighting. So anyway, we ended up using this. So when the world degrades, the shafts of light breaking through the walls into the rooms, and that effect is actually driven by a light map texture from one of the other levels.
It's done really well. It really gives that feeling of like
This
things are breaking
spatio-temporal
down.
moment of wonder is brought to you by the very long but invisible rectangular portals tucked behind these empty windows, looking out into other parts of the level you may soon travel to.
Almost there.
This final level was designed with the idea of removing depth perception entirely. All the visuals are flattened.
And many years ago, I had a dream. I found myself in a place where I understood that each of us begins as nothing, where everything I perceived was shaped by seeing it exactly the way I wanted to. White space.
Oh, that's really good timing if you just keep walking. White space and then it goes to like the dark scene. That's really well done. It's so nice to not have to look for collectibles. Like, oh. So much easier when you can just like walk. Game's a lot shorter when you just keep moving forward. It's a little something off. I'm looking for things, I just haven't seen any. They might be white though, it might be the problem.
Since the universe that the players inhabit is seemingly created in almost a kitbash way while within Somnosculpt, it was a unique challenge to show the players truly a peek behind the curtains of the system. A blank canvas, a scratch document, an empty sticky note with some notes, little things creatively interspersed throughout. I think I derived some of the inspiration for what happens when you're playing a VR game and suddenly the game crashes to a totally white space. That feeling of disorientation, even though you understand the world around you is an illusion.
That's smart. That's a interesting point. Yeah, it does really break like your brain whenever you're like in VR and like oh, is there anything in here? I just want to make sure. Oh, there's good.
Negative space is another concept related to changing expectations and changing your perceptions of an object. This puzzle works really well because the solution is obvious in retrospect, but it takes people a couple of seconds in order to figure out. We actually had to add the looping hallway because without it, people would run out of things to do and immediately start rubbing their bodies against the walls and come to the solution almost immediately.
Yeah.
After all,
it was
if
kind
this
of
is a
like, because
place
whenever
of
I did it,
pure
I just like
perspective,
accidentally,
isn't it
because I was
also a
just looking
place
out the window
where
and
a
I just
different point of
accidentally
view
fell
could
through
make
essentially.
anything possible? Isn't that why you came here?
This is also a fun puzzle. Oh, it's not on the table. It's weird. All right. Almost messed that up. Again. I mean, it's hard to put commentary here because everything's so white. Make sure that people can actually see it. I guess I could just change the color of the chess pieces. Makes sense. Or just put it in front of the darker backgrounds. Hate it. I like to just kind of like wiggle through these. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. We are the alarm clock. Hey, we beat it in under an hour. Nice. Oh, I guess that you don't have to go through this retrospective. Interesting.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and by now you may have realized that all of this
all
has
the
happened
commentary's
exactly
done.
the way it was supposed to.
This last section was something that Logan and I worked together on for a really long time. When I first saw it, I had this great feeling for how it could be like a really nice, impactful moment. And so I got this really kind of awe-inspiring, inspirational music to put behind it. And Logan absolutely hated it. I stuck to my guns and asked him to stick with it for a while and play it for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and see how things went. And he ended up totally coming around to my side of thinking. Initially, we were unsure if we went for this kind of pure feeling that it would just be really hokey. And I ended up reading this essay on television written by David Foster Wallace. And it really kind of encouraged me to kind of get over that sort of postmodern, too cool for anything aesthetic, and to just really go gung-ho into sort of rewarding you for ending the game by giving you something really nice.
This level was created early on. I liked the idea of giving the player some time to think about their journey rather than ending the game immediately, and I knew film-like cuts would be perfect for revisiting their experience through the game. Chris initially suggested a song for reference, and at first I hated it. I kept listening to it though,
I like that
and
it hits on
eventually
that
grew to love
piano
the song.
piece.
Matt came up with a track that is even better than the reference material, and it fit perfectly.
Your life will always be a struggle, and you will always have problems. But today, you have the chance to see things differently. Even though it meant facing obstacles that seemed impossible at first, you thought outside
I
the
love
box.
that. I love that it
and
hits
you
up
overcame
perfectly
them.
on the piano. I didn't notice it the
Because
first
you
time.
saw things from every angle, you understood them for what they really were. Because you kept moving forward, no matter how far off the path you were told you were headed, or how unexpected it became, you found your way.
Oh, hey. Oh, hi. Oh, I poked you in the eye. I'm sorry. I love the
In
piano
a few
key hit.
minutes, you'll be back in the real world. And some part of you will say that none of this was real. So how could it have really meant anything? But just like the power of perspective itself, it will have been as real as you believed it to be.
That's how everything
All
is.
you've got to do is wake
Go.
up.
Biggest fan. Let's go. Okay, I do want to try and see if there is like the like hack or whatever to go through the reception computer screen. I want to see if you can beat it in under 30 minutes by doing that, if that's the way to do it. And this will be all of the achievements without like the workshop stuff, I think. If this works. I don't know if it'll work. But I can imagine a faster way of doing that. Like, we just kind of kept moving. I mean, I guess I did pause a little bit for, like, listening to commentary. This takes you to, like, the last level of the game. So this, we just drop down here. This takes us to, like, the last areas. Yes, it does. Good game, man. Really like it. Okay. Let's check our achievements one last time. Yeah, that didn't give it to us. Beat the game in under 30 minutes. What does this do? Hold the fire alarm. That's funny. Dang. So you really do have to go through the whole game. Okay. Yeah, I can do the workshop achievements outside of stream, and then next week we'll try the challenge modes and then the beat the game in under 30 minutes. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys back here next time.